So that's one of my motivations for going out there and sharing my story so that somebody else, right, that is just migrating, that's stepping foot here in the US can see that there are multiple other paths. There's the American dream of buying a home, getting a job is not the only path you could take. There's more you can do to contribute, to do much bigger, to be bigger. And my hope is that somebody else is going to see the examples of what we've been able to do and do 10 times more than what we will ever do in our lifetime.
Welcome to The Path to Wealth, the show about well-being, fulfillment, and financial freedom. And I'm your host, Hennche. Welcome back to another episode of The Path to Wealth. I'm your host, Hennche. I'm excited to introduce to you our guest today, Leslie Awasom, the co-founder of Xsite Capital Investments. Leslie used to work as a certified nurse for anesthesia, which is why one of his missions is to help healthcare professionals achieve financial freedom through multifamily real estate investing. In this episode, we will explore Leslie's exciting journey to financial freedom through investing in real estate. Thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate the opportunity to share my journey with your audience.
So where did this journey of longing for financial freedom initially start?
Well, I'll have to say the journey for some kind of financial stability probably started very early on in my childhood. Because I grew up in Africa, in Cameroon. Growing up over there, you see some struggle, you see some poverty. And then at some point, you get a glimpse of other communities, other societies. You see what is possible. So you have that dream and that vision of maybe having a taste of that someday. Fast forward, when I was 18, I migrated to the US. And my goal was to come into the US and build a life for myself and able to gain that financial freedom, give it to, not necessarily, I didn't even know what financial freedom was. All I knew is I wanted stability. Like I wanted to be able to afford the things that I wanted to and live the life that I wanted to. So follow the traditional path of going to school, getting a job. That's what got me into nursing because I wanted a secure job at that time. So got into nursing. Then while I was a nurse, working as a nurse, initially I tried a few entrepreneurial ventures because I've always been had this entrepreneurial bug, trying to start a business and all of that. All of them which were unsuccessful, but I did learn a lot of lessons. Then fast forward a few years later, when I became a certified registered nurse anesthetist, which is a really prestigious job to have. It's a really great career to have, which I'm really grateful that I had the opportunity to practice, that I've had the opportunity to practice as a CRNA for over 9 years. But a year or two in my career as a CRNA, I started questioning myself, okay, I'm at this, in the nursing career, that's probably one of the most prestigious jobs you could ever have. I'm like, okay, I'm right there, what is considered by society as being there at the 1%, 2% or whatever. But is this all my life is going to be? Do I have to keep coming to the hospital for 12, 16, 24 hours every day so I could be able to feed my family? So that just didn't sound right with me, especially when I have 3 kids, my second daughter was born. I was working so hard and missed out on almost everything in her childhood. So that was when I came to that full decision. Not necessarily the realization, but that was the point when I made the decision that something else has to be done. I got to figure out another way. And I went on that path of personal development, financial education. And that led to me being able to build the businesses that I've been able to build over this year.
Nice. And I think you mentioned something so crucial. It's that, sometimes those initial things that we try out that don't quite work, they do add up to the skill set later. And it's a little bit like Steve Jobs mentioned it you can only connect the dots in hindsight.
Absolutely. I love that quote a lot. It says you cannot connect the dots moving forward, but you just got to take the step forward with the faith that somehow the dots will connect. So I reflect on that a lot.
Where did you have the faith to say this will connect eventually? I just have to be persistent. I have to keep trying. Was it something that came natural to you or something where you really had to lean in?
So it didn't come naturally, and it's not. I really did not come into that realization until later on down the path, down the line, right? I just saw something. I just discovered like one of the very first books on personal development or audio tips on personal development that I read was, or that I listened to was like Lead the Field by Earl Nightingale, right? And as I was listening to that tape over and over again, and I was like whatever he was saying, like it just filled my spirit with a lot of excitement to do more, to want to do more. And I started doing more, reading other books on financial education and real estate and discovering all this new knowledge, right? I think it was the growth. It was the growth that I was experiencing intellectually, the growth that I was experiencing emotionally, and the growth that I was experiencing just in life in general, like my general state. I had like something that I could look forward to, that I could work towards, right? So I just enjoyed that whole process of doing things, right? Met my first partner. We started Xsite Capital, set this big audacious goal, got really excited about it, and just started working, just doing the stuff because like my career at that point felt like I had gotten to the plateau, right? Now I created another plateau for myself, which was so far away, right? And I was so excited about working towards it. So it was just that journey that I was working towards. Then like 2-3 years down the line, like, oh my God, like all of this has happened. Wow. Now you can connect the dots moving forward, moving backwards. But initially it was just that excitement of growth that got me moving.
I like that you already realized even that is just another plateau.
Yeah.
Like it's not the goal, it's not the finish line, it's just another plateau.
Yes.
It seems that life, the goalpost keeps endlessly moving. Like we can, I think the journey is to how far can we stretch. It's not about ever reaching. It's just like how far can we stretch.
Absolutely. That's what life is all about, right? The only end point is when you die, to be honest, right? So that, like somebody once asked me, so when are you going to retire? I'm like, retire from what? Retire from living life. I enjoy what I'm doing. It's just part of life. You just keep doing it. And maybe you set a goal in a business, you accomplish it. Then you look for another goal and you go after. It's just about going after the pursuits that bring joy to you, So, and that's what I have dedicated my life. I'm saying I'm doing it, dedicating the rest of my life to do is to go after the pursuits that bring joy to me.
Yeah. Do you feel like that same American dream is still alive that you had as an 18-year-old when you came here?
No, the American dream that was sold to me as an 18-year-old when I came here, it's a very, very limited dream, right? It's the dream of going and getting a job and having a career and then retiring. But I think the American dream is much more broader and much more bigger than that, right? And the true American dream is that anybody can come in here with $100 and a few bags of clothes and start something and then build it to something that is big. That American dream, I personally believe is still alive because I am living it.
Yeah.
Right. I am living it because I came in here with nothing. I was lucky that I came here. I had a mother that was working hard and was able to help support me and help me get to school and all of that. But she came in here too with nothing, right? Put in the work and we put in the work. Then at some point I discovered that there is more than that initial dream that most people in my community thought was the American dream. There's a much bigger dream than that. And I started going after it and I'm seeing results. There are very few societies in the world where you are able to do that. Very few, right? So I do believe that dream is still alive, no matter what anybody says about America. I think it's probably I'm just grateful that I'm here, and I think it's one of the greatest societies in the world.
I think the trick there is to not read the headlines and just keep working the dream.
Yeah, I stopped. I'm so glad I stopped listening to the news a long time ago. My quality of life has significantly improved since I started doing that, since I stopped listening to the news.
Yeah. Because otherwise you think the whole country is on fire every single day. You see snippets of this and that, and you're like, are we really living in this kind of society? But if you don't look at it, you just go about your day, you work on your dreams, you help other people build their dreams, enable them becoming financially independent.
Absolutely. Again, it just depends on what you focus on, right? There's so much happening in the world around you. So it's important what you choose to focus yourself on, right? If the news, if it feeds you and you like listening to it, or it feeds whatever party you're going on to, is great, but it's not for everybody. You got to figure out the path you want to go and then find the things that feed you to get towards that path, and then, so it's all about what you're focusing on. So I'm very, very deliberate on what I choose to focus my attention on.
Mm-hmm. So what are you focusing on next with Xsite? What are like the next bigger audacious goals after working the first 6 deals, are kind of wrapped up in a way, they're operational. What are the next audacious goals?
Oh man, we are so excited this year. Well, one of the things that we discovered when we started Xsite Capital is like there's a lot of gatekeeping of information out there when it comes to like education or helping other people get on this path of buying apartment buildings or helping them provide resources for them to be able to go and start their own businesses as well. So that's one of the things that we were so passionate about, that we are going to create other people like us. So this year we decided to take along just a few people to help them buy their first apartment buildings, right? And so far it has been so great. Like we have a couple of our mentees that are submitting offers and ready to buy their first building. So that to me is like something that I'm really passionate about. That to me, that's what life is all about, right? Being able to grow and help other people grow is something that has been at the core of our mission with my partners. And of course, as we bring other people and help them get that initial step of what we were able to do, help shorten their path and help them avoid a ton of mistakes along the way to get to that point, we are also seeking to grow as well. So this year, we're looking to acquire $200 million of assets and then continue to grow as that. And to do that, we're bringing on a team, a much wider team, expanding our team. So a lot of good things happening in our business that we are sincerely really grateful for. And we keep pushing towards that big audacious goal, which was to acquire $5 billion of assets in 10 years. So we're still far away from that. So we'll keep working towards it and then helping others get on that path as well.
Well, the beauty about the compounding curve is, the acceleration on the tail end of it. It's like always, initially when we start building the pipeline, it looks like nothing is happening, nothing is happening. But when then the compounding kicks really in, then so these audacious goals become more tangible.
Yeah, I love that a lot. One of our mentors, whenever we meet with him, he reminds us, just like, guys, listen, it's an inverted triangle, right? When you start in the beginning, you got to put in a lot of effort to get a small amount of results, but it gets easier as you go. And this is somebody that owns almost over 2 billion of assets. And he's been there. So that I always keep reminding myself that, keep pushing. And you see it too, right? We see it. The kind of effort that we had to put in to be able to get just to our first transaction, right? It takes less now because we build those resources and all of that. So it's just an exciting journey to be on.
Yeah. So what was that like to go from 0 to 1? Because that's, as you said, that takes so much effort and we don't quite know the lay of the land. We don't have all the resources. We don't have all the contacts. Like if you were to compare 0 to 1 to maybe the 5th deal to the 6th deal, how much more in terms of effort and hours spent do you think that takes, if you can somehow put that in perspective?
Absolutely. 0 to 1 was tough, right? But the interesting thing is, like, when we're doing it, we didn't think it was tough because we're just, I think one of my partners likes to use the word is like ignorant enthusiasm, right? That's just what we were filled with. We were just so enthusiastic, but didn't know left from right. And we were just going, hitting this wall, hitting that wall, but so enthusiastic, but kept pushing forward. So looking back, it was challenging, right? And one of the main reasons why it was challenging is because we just this was a path that we have never walked before, right? And we didn't have the right guidance to walk on that path. So we had to figure out a lot of things on our own. We made a lot of mistakes, some of them costly more than others, but every single one of them was an opportunity for us to learn, right? The great thing we had is, like, every time we hit a roadblock, we'll always sit back and reflect and ask ourselves, okay, what are we doing here? Or what can we do better? What other direction can we go? Right? And we did a lot of that unconsciously just because we were so enthusiastic about the value that we had the possibility of providing to our community. So we were ready to put in whatever it took for us to get there. Right? So from that zero to the first initial one was very challenging, but a lot of growth, a lot of personal growth happened along that path between myself, my partners. We grew significantly as individuals. And I believe once we grew as individuals to the point where we were capable of achieving that goal, then the first came in. Now, once the first comes in, you have the foundations that are necessary, right? You have the credibility. Now, by being able to close your first deals, you build relationships, you've shown credibility, you have investors that you're providing value to, and then it expands from there, right? And then it becomes much easier, but not completely easy, right? It becomes much easier, but the more you go and the more you push and stretch your goals from that level of comfort, the more you face a challenge. But once you get past that, things become a little easier. The more you push, it keeps going that way. So it's like a constant journey. It's like taking a step up. You go up this way, plateau a little bit, go up, plateau. Sometimes you come down, then you got to go back up. So yeah, you just keep going.
Yeah. You know what I like is that you're so community focused. And every time I think about the checks we return to our investors, I feel like we're enabling dreams, whatever that means to them. It could be putting the kids through college, could be getting another car, it could be getting a home, could be getting more stability. But every check we return to our investors is a dream.
Yeah, I tell my partners that I'm lucky that in our partnership, I'm on the asset management side, so I get to process these distributions. And that's usually my favorite time of the quarter when I hit that send button and I send distributions to our investors. Some of them are my friends, and some of them were very skeptical investing in this the first time. And I tell them, no, you got to do this, you got to do it. So whenever I send them, I have to just call them and remind them that don't forget, So, yeah, it's a great business to be in, like when done correctly, right? When you go out there and you actually see great opportunities that could help people grow their wealth and you're able to provide these opportunities to them. So what better way to live life than providing that kind of opportunity to other people?
Yeah. But it's also interesting. You mentioned that sometimes people are so skeptical that they can't even see the good in things. I wanted to explain one of my friends what cost segregation could mean for him. He's already a landlord. So he would have qualified for using those losses on a multifamily real estate investment. And he's just saying, no, it just sounds too good to be true. I don't think it works. I'm like, we're doing it. This is legal. This is not some moonshine business.
Yeah. That's human nature, right? We start by being skeptical every time you it's like a phase, and that's what I tell my mentees. It's a phase, and you have to start early because the mistake you don't want to make is to start only when you have that opportunity to provide to investors. For example, it's a phase. Once you start, there's going to be skepticism. You gotta expect it. So plant the seed and let them be skeptical, so that it gives them enough time to go back and do a little bit of research on that, and you continue to inform and continue to educate. It's a long-term process, right? But what I've come to understand that it is human nature, right? So I expect it. I expect that skepticism. It's totally okay. I love when people come in and ask me like 10,000 questions, when they're skeptical and like, no, this sounds too good to be true. You sure this is not a Ponzi scheme? So I love when people do that because it gives me an opportunity to educate them and really expand their minds to what is possible. And a lot of the members of our community that started off that way are some of the most loyal investors that get in on every single deal. And after the first one, they saw the effect, they just go bonkers, So, yeah, so I expect the skepticism, again, it's just part of the process.
Yeah. I mean, the beauty is once you've maybe, I don't want to say persuaded, but once you help somebody see the value in an opportunity where they were originally very skeptical, then they become like a true believer in a way, where they're like, hey, this actually works. I've been intensely skeptical initially, and they always become like a spokesperson.
Absolutely. Those are the people that bring you the most referrals, because you can imagine yourself, if you have that much doubt about something, then you realize it works. How excited do you get? And you want to tell everybody about it. So, so it's welcome skepticism for sure.
Mm-hmm. And oftentimes that skepticism is more about their past experiences than it is about us. It's like, okay, they might question our experience, then we can point to our partnerships and our mentors and be like, yes, we might initially have started a different path in our life, but we do have a solid network around ourselves, a solid team that helps us navigate it. And then the question is like, which part of the skepticism comes out of their past experience? Like, where did they get burned in the past? And then you can speak to that.
Absolutely. That's why a lot of it, it's really getting to know your investor rather than trying to just bombard them with a bunch of whatever you could do for them. It's about like really asking questions, what their previous experiences are, what their pain points are. And sometimes by asking questions to people, you might realize that this is not the best investment for them, right? It's a great asset class to invest in, but it's not ideal for everybody at different points in life. So, and sometimes I'll talk to people, I realize this is not the best investment for them based on where they are. And I'll let them know that. So it's that questioning that you get to, and you get to know the people, they get to know you as well. Give them an opportunity to ask as many questions as they need to get to know you. And again, it's a lot. You got to think about it though. These assets, you hold them to them for 5 years, 5, maybe 7, even 10 years. This is a long-term relationship you're building with someone. So you got to get to know them, and they got to get to know you.
Yeah. And 10 years is a long time. Like if somebody is in the deal for the wrong reasons and they're trying to get hands on their money, then it's better to have an open conversation up front and be like, hey, this is our business plan. This is how this usually goes down. If you're in it for the right reasons, great, it's a good match. But if you think you'll double your money in 3 years and you want your money back in 3 years, you probably have to go somewhere else.
Exactly.
Yeah. So how often do you go back to Cameroon?
Oh, I haven't been back in 3 years. I used to go back every other year, but I haven't been back in 3 years.
Yeah. Is that a trip you enjoy doing on a regular basis? And like also because you have community here, but you also have roots there, and that's probably something very worthwhile supporting too.
Yeah, I love going back to Cameroon. The reason why I haven't gone back is because there's been a conflict in the country where I grew up at for the past 3 years, and it's no longer safe to go, especially to the area where I grew up at. But I love going back because it brings everything home to me, right? It's like really understanding like where you're coming from. And the opportunities that you have in front of you, because I'm here in America. I get to wake up in a comfortable house in a society that has opportunities for me. There are hundreds, millions of people back home that don't have the opportunities for that. I grew up with some very, very intelligent kids looking back, right? When I look back, my childhood, I went to like what they call primary school, which is kind of like elementary, in a small village. And in that village, I got to have some friends where looking back, these kids were like geniuses, but the community that they come from, the society that they come from, it does not expose them to the opportunities for them to be able to express their genius. Like I have the opportunity to express the little vision or whatever that I have inside of me, right? So it's always it's a good reminder to go back and see that, what, I've been blessed with an opportunity here to make something out of my life, and to make something not just out of my life, but also be an example for others to see that they could be bigger for themselves. So I cannot waste it. I cannot waste it. So those trips back home are usually a reminder of that. And it's also good to go back and see like how great the amount of opportunities that exist in Africa for us to be able to make changes as a society, as a community, to move forward. Back home in Cameroon, the political situation is a little bit dicey, but it has a lot of potential, and I do believe the future of that society is bright. Once things transition a little bit.
Yeah, and the beauty is, someone like you can probably, to some degree, with the people that you still know, you can try to help and shape, and bring some of the mindset of prosperity that you kind of gathered over here, and bring it back there to the people you're still in touch with.
That's what I hope to do. That's what I hope I'm doing. That's one of the main reasons why I decided to embark on a personal journey of like personal branding, of coming out and sharing my story. I am naturally an introvert. I love to stay in my quiet corner and just do things that I need to do. But the more I learned about myself, the more I grew as an individual, and the more I tried sharing with a couple of people, I saw how much impact it had on them. So that's one of my motivations for going out there and sharing my story, so that somebody else, right, that is just migrating, that's stepping foot here in the US, can see that there are multiple other paths. There's the American dream of buying a home, getting a job is not the only path you could take. There's more you can do to contribute, to do much bigger, to be bigger. And my hope is that somebody else is going to see the examples of what we've been able to do and do 10 times more than what we will ever do in our lifetime. So it's great to be in that position, to be able to share that kind of value. And my hope is that people actually take advantage of it and see themselves as capable of it, because we are no different than you.
Do you, just sort of curiosity, do you feel that when you come home, people are in awe that they too can do what you've did, or do they come more so from jealousy maybe?
So for the most part, it's been people that are reaching out to me and say, "Oh man, I'm glad that you're sharing this. Keep going. I'm gonna go out there and do things for myself." So for the most part, it's been inspiration. If they are jealous, I don't know, to be honest, because I really don't focus on that, and I don't feed into. I just do what I need to do and keep going. And anybody that supports, I encourage them as well and give value to them as much as possible. So if somebody is jealous, I really don't know. I've had a couple people reach out with, like, if somebody responds to something that I do from a negative perspective, I actually have conversation with them, and a lot of it is fear, right? Some people doubt themselves, doubt the ability that they're able to do that, and they express that in that way. So however way I can help them, I do it. But again, I don't focus on the negative, whether they're jealous or not. I don't know.
Yeah, and I'm just wondering. Sometimes there is those like, oh yeah, you could do that because I don't know, you were able to go to the United States, or.
I'm sure there's some people that say that in their mind, And again, I go back to say, unfortunately, that's human nature, and a lot of it too has to do with the society that we grew up in and the beliefs that we adopt growing up. So even if somebody says that to me, right, I don't take it personal. I actually feel a little bit of sense of pity for the person, because I know from my own personal growth journey and my own experience, I know the beliefs or whatever information that you have to take in to be able to see, to have that perception that this is maybe something else than what it truly is. It all comes from the inside. So to some extent, I feel a little bit of pity, but I don't focus on it. I just keep moving. And anytime you start something, people are going to be skeptical. There were people that were very skeptical about what we were doing when we started. Some of those people are our greatest supporters today. So you just got to keep going and not focusing on that, because if you do, you're going to rob yourself of the ability to grow much faster, and you're going to rob yourself of the opportunity to actually help those people by growing.
Yeah, that's right. Like, I always keep reminding myself, if I would have done what my grandpa would have wanted me to do, I would have been nowhere close to what I'm doing right now.
Absolutely.
I would be still in the same village at home.
Yep. Yeah, your grandpa just gave you the best information based on what he knew. So, and again, that's one of the things too that I tell people is like, oh, I'm doing it because my parents used to do it this way. Oh, it's because my parents said I should do it this way. I think it's being really unfair to your parents, trying to blame your personal situation or wherever you are to whatever they told you, because they gave you information based on what they knew growing up in that era of the world that they knew, that they grew up in. There's a ton of that information that is universal, that's going to be timeless regardless of whenever you grow up. But the world, it's your responsibility to look at the world and make judgments and decide if this is right for you or not. You got to go out there and try other things, and just don't lock yourself up in the little information that you've been given.
Yeah. And this is the crucial part. And I think this is also the power of immigration. Like, you and me came here from a different continent, and it kind of shook our original belief system. It shook the way we look at the world, and suddenly we were in a different part of the world that was thinking different, that culturally was different. And it kind of allowed ourselves to question, like, okay, what are the jewels in what we learned in the past, and what is maybe not so worthwhile holding on to?
Yeah. No, that.
I think this is the power of unsettling and going somewhere else for some time.
Yeah, that's very interesting because I was with a group of friends yesterday and we were talking about this, right? It is really something that I've been fascinated about. Because, for example, right, and this goes back into the importance of what you're focusing on, right? For example, it's not just immigration from, let's say, from a third world country to the United States where you see that happening. It's actually just change in society, even from one third world country to another third world country. I'll give you a very good example. Like in Cameroon, right? As a Cameroonian growing up, we were like, oh, the government is bad. Things are going really bad in this country. Nothing is going well. We don't have to eat all of this and all of that. But guess what? There were Nigerians that migrated to Cameroon in search of opportunity, and they started businesses and are becoming very, very successful, right? Guess what, too? On the opposite side, on the other side of the border in Nigeria, right? Because my partners are Nigerians, I've been to Nigeria a few times. The same thing is happening where Nigerians are like, oh, things are bad, the government is bad, this and all of that. Nothing is working in this country. There's no opportunity. I want to get out. And there are other foreigners, Cameroonians and other people that are living from their country coming to Nigeria in search of opportunity, and they find that opportunity and they're successful. Same thing happens in many other communities. So the question I've asked myself is like, why does this happen? Right? And the truth is, it gets back to that point. It depends on what you're focusing on. When you're leaving your community to go to another community, it's because you've seen that there's no opportunity for growth for you here and you want to go out and seek opportunity somewhere else. You're going into that society with fresh eyes. You do not have all the stories and sense of entitlement that you have when you are in your own community. For example, I'm Cameroonian. I'm a citizen of this country. I have the right. The government has to take care of me. The government has to provide this and have to do all of these things for me. And if I'm not getting it, I'm going to move in another country. When I move to another country, I'm not a citizen, so I don't have this right. I have to hustle hard to find opportunities. And guess what? When I do, those opportunities come. Same thing when the other citizen moves to the other country, right? So what that tells me is that, again, the stories we tell ourselves and what we focus on highly, highly determines the results that we're going to get, right? So if that same person, let's say if I'm in Cameroon and I take that same mindset, I'm like a Nigerian, there's opportunity everywhere. I don't care what the government is doing, and I go out and look for it. I will be successful. You know, that's what I think, and it really fascinates me.
Yeah, I think that's really it. If I would have stayed in that village, I would have had the thinking of that village because it would have been so much harder to break free from it.
Yeah.
And maybe the internet would have marinated me, but I would have to proactively seek it out in a completely different manner. But I think by displacing myself, I just had to look at everything with a clean slate. I'm like, okay, like how do I make sense of this? How do I get prosperity here for my family now? And I think that's really it. It's like, okay, break free from whatever was given to you in a way, and then try to seek opportunity somewhere else.
Absolutely.
And I think that's the beauty of immigration. Like if I look at the United States, it's a country of immigration.
Mm-hmm.
And it's also so many great businesses have been built by or so many of the hustlers I know, people that are actually like going for it. They come from somewhere that think, hey, this is a great playing field. I want to play all out here, the United States. This is where I can do it. And I feel the same way. Like where I come from, it's so overregulated. You really feel like you're fighting windmills, and when you come here, you're like, oh, I actually can do this, and it's worthwhile. That's what it feels like.
But isn't it interesting that in the same United States that you and I see all these opportunities in, a lot of the natural born citizens of the United States, all they see is like everything is going down. There's nothing here. There's no opportunity. The government is not doing this and all of that. You know, so even in a great society like the US, right, you still have that happening, which is really fascinating.
I think it's part of the human psyche, and I think now it can get amplified a lot more. Like it used to be a print in a newspaper, and kind of the gatekeeper of information and storytelling and narrative to the public used to be newspapers. Then we got radio and TV, but now just about anybody can kind of bring narratives into the web. And I think people don't know quite how to make a proper distinction there. It's like, okay, what is actually worthwhile taking in as information? Like, I think we really have to be guard of our mind when it comes to information and narratives, because they can so easily derail the prosperity of an entire nation. Or it starts with individuals and families, but then it ripples into the society.
I totally agree.
Yeah. So that this is, as much as it's the beauty, like you and me get to share information that we think changed our life, that allowed us to become prosperous. At the same time, this same ability of communication can be used to mislead with certain narratives that make people feel like they're powerless, that make them feel like they don't have opportunity. And then it maybe takes that unsettling that you and me went through by immigrating, that allows us, no, it's about what we focus on. So if we are keeping this out and we're focusing on what is possible and what we can work on, what we can control, there's like a real opportunity here.
Absolutely. It's all, again, it goes back to what you focus on, because there's so much information in the world. Where you decide to direct your mind is where your growth is going to go towards.
Yeah, very powerful. Very powerful.
Thank you.
Leslie, what do you consider a life well lived?
A life well lived is it's a life where it's a life of purpose, right? My personally, a life well lived is a life that lives an impact for the next generation to come. Yeah,
that's how I think. I think the greatest fulfillment is when you start stepping into helping others.
Yeah,
it's like it gets real boring real quick if you just take care of yourself.
Yeah, if your goals are just individual based, again, some people are individually motivated. Every person has a different core human need. I found my biggest human need is like the need for growth and contribution. So for me, as long as I'm growing and as long as I'm contributing to the life of others, I'm living my best life.
Very powerful. Well, Leslie, this has been a very well-rounded conversation, very going deep at what we care for and kind of what's your why behind investing in real estate and enabling others into investing in real estate. So where can people connect with you, find out more about your mentorship or your potential limited partner opportunities that you're having?
All right. So I'm very active on LinkedIn. On LinkedIn, I am Leslie Awasom. That's LESLIE AWASOM. Please connect with me on there. Let's share ideas. I'm also Leslie Awasom on all the social media platforms, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. I think, I'm on TikTok as well. And check out our YouTube channel, Xsite Capital. That's XSITE CAPITAL, Xsite Capital YouTube channel. We're going to be putting out a lot of educational content, a lot of great stuff on YouTube. So come connect with us, learn, grow, and reach out to any one of us if it could be of value to you in any way.
Awesome. And we'll also make sure to have all of those details in the show notes, just in case somebody didn't catch it properly.
All right. Man, thank you so much for having me on this platform. I love these conversations because I wish I had listened to conversations from other people like this coming up. So again, thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, thank you for making the time. And I feel the same way. Like, I think this is pure gold for somebody where it clicks, if this is available to them. So thank you for putting yourself out there despite being an introvert.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for joining us at The Path to Wealth. We hope you enjoyed today's episode. Check out our upcoming guests and be sure to share it with all your friends and family that want to take their life to the next level of wealth.